Hey everybody, welcome to Youth Pastor Church, online training for youth pastors. We do this every month. My name is Jason Cott, and I am the North Central Regional Coordinator with the National Network of Youth Ministries. And we're just excited tonight to be with you, encouraging youth workers who are in the front lines doing ministry every day. And we would love to hear your comments and questions by using Twitter, and if you would use the hashtag YPChurch, so that's hashtag YPChurch, and you tweet that out, and Nate here will take questions, and he'll take questions as we go along, and towards the end of the broadcast here, we will actually have you, we'll read your questions out to our special guest. And actually we got a treat tonight because we have with us David Dorn, who's going to talk to us about creatively presenting biblical truth. Now David attends at Asbury Seminary in Wilmer, Kentucky, and he's also a dad, which gives him even more street cred. He has a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old. And we're very excited to hear from him tonight. But before we do that, I'm going to turn some things over to David, and then David, go on ahead.
All right. Well, I'll just go ahead and get started, and I'll introduce myself as we
I'm sorry, David. That's my bad. That you were totally not expecting it. I mean, I'm going to send it over to Nate.
Oh, okay.
That's what I thought. Wait a minute. Let me check my little notes. Jason's trying to skip me again.
I was ready to roll. So.
I never do that.
Well, my name is Nate Dame, and I'm really excited to be here again tonight. This is our second Youth Pastor Church, and part of the Called to Youth Ministry movement, right? We got to call everything a movement here in youth ministry world, right? And I just wanted to say hello and give a quick introduction to Called to Youth Ministry. I also wanted to say I'm real grateful. Last time my entire room was yellow because I couldn't figure out lighting, and I actually have a little bit of sunlight now, so I'm really excited to be a normal color this week, and also this month. And boy, we actually we're doing a lot better because last month we got started pretty late, couldn't figure out what we were doing. It was like duct taped together, but so we're already off to a great start, guys. Quick note: if you guys know Nathan Cornett, please be praying for him tonight. He's with a student on suicide watch, and couldn't be here, so please keep Nathan and the student he's with in your prayers tonight. Called Youth Ministry is a small nonprofit. We're just focused on resourcing youth pastors, especially if you're a volunteer. And if you are in any way involved in a youth group or leading a youth group, we want to help you. And our slogan, one of our slogans is networking and training now. You know, we want to be able to support you right now, and that's where Youth Pastor Church came from. You might be at your church, you might be at home, you might be driving in the car, and you can hop online, hop on Google Plus and see this training, and we're real excited about that. And we have some other training that we do as well, to go a little deeper in the same sense of connecting with youth pastors wherever you might be. We do them through small groups, just like this live chat, but they're closed groups, and they'll meet for 6 to 8 weeks on a couple of different topics. And they're really led by a facilitator, a youth ministry veteran. They're really interesting groups. So these online training groups, we actually have 3 of them starting this week and next week. So go to our website. All 3 groups are still open. There's a couple of spots in each. So if you do, I think registration's open through the end of this week. So there's some information in the right-hand sidebar of calledyouthministry.com about those groups. But I hope and pray this is encouraging to you. David seems like a really cool guy, so I'm looking forward to hearing from him and hearing what he has to share about sharing biblical truth in today's context. So Jason, back to you, man.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, Nate. Hey, before we get started, let's take time to lift up prayers to God. All right. Heavenly Father, I just thank you for this evening. I pray that you would be with us. And Lord, I just right now think about Nathan Cornett and the young lady that he is with, who's on suicide watch. I pray that you would just give him, just wisdom and understanding and patience and just a listening heart and just help them to be the grace of God to that family. So, Lord, I just pray for them at this time, and I pray for our time tonight. May you be lifted up and made famous, and as we want to make much of you in our communities. We pray this in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. David, just wanted to start out with a couple of questions before you go on with your teaching. Just wanted to find out, where are you broadcasting from tonight?
I am in Wilmore, Kentucky right now. Like you said, I attend Asbury Theological Seminary. I'm wrapping up my last semester of my Master's of Divinity. It's only taken me 4 years. That's where I'm at right now.
Very good. And how long have you been around in the youth ministry world?
I've been doing some form of youth ministry for about 6 years now.
Awesome. Very cool. And what would you say has been your most, I don't know, greatest challenge in youth ministry? What has been one of your greatest joys of youth ministry?
Oh. One of the greatest things about youth ministry is it's a microcosm of broader ministry. You see the highs and lows of people's lives a lot quicker, just because they're teenagers and emotions run quickly. So you could have a really high moment one weekend, and then you experience the low moments with them the following week. Whereas a broader church ministry, that takes a lot longer to see some of those things. I could get into detail of certain events and things that I've gone to that I've just been really proud of, and gotten to see kids come to Jesus. I don't know how much of that you want me to go into. Got a chance to preach for a week at a camp meeting for a bunch of teens this past summer, and a lot of them committed their lives to Jesus, and we got to baptize a few of them that week. So that was pretty awesome. Very
cool. Awesome, man. Well, I'm glad you're on the front lines. You're doing ministry, and you know what you're talking about, and especially in this area of creatively presenting the gospel or biblical truth to youth. Why don't you take some time right now and just share and impart what you've been learning?
Oh, you're stealing my lecture right now. Just to try things. That's one of the biggest things I've learned, is to not be afraid of failure. You're going to learn more from the failures than you are your successes, obviously. But to just do it. My creativity, I'll get to this in just a minute, I'm not the most creative guy. I never thought of myself as the most creative guy. I'm a detail-oriented person. I'm looking for what is the need, and my creativity has been born out of just meeting those needs, whether other people were doing that or not. And people have looked at that and have labeled it creative, so here I am.
Creatively failing and succeeding. Right on. Well, tell us. I'm trying to think if you've got video. I think you cut out there a little bit, or audio, not video.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah. Now we're good. We're good. So tell me a little bit more about the creativity through learning. I mean, what has compelled you to work through the challenges and really hold on and keep your creative edge in the face of challenges in ministry?
I'm stubborn. When something fails, I work twice as hard to try doing something different to see if I can get it to work. I see a need, especially, I've spent the last 4 years doing online forms of ministry because I see a need, and I'm really passionate about that, because there are a lot of people. The internet is the greatest mission field we've ever seen, and it's right at our fingertips. And because I don't see a lot of other people stepping into that, I have been very passionate to step into that and try to meet those needs for people, and creating content, Christian content that people can interact with and hopefully come to Jesus through. So
Right on. Awesome. Well, I know you wanted to share with us. You've got some teaching for us, so lay it on us.
All right.
What,
I want to talk for a few minutes about creativity, and then I want to get to some. I am a practical person. I want to get into some very practical things, and then I'll open it up for some questions there toward the end. But like I said earlier, people always called me a creative person, and I never saw that. I used to think that creative people were people who could go into a room and just, create something wonderful at their whim. Somebody who works at like Pixar or Apple or and that wasn't me. At least it wasn't in the beginning, and so I never thought of myself as having any form of creativity. I'm a need-based person. I look and see what the need is, and I go after that. And the more I went after that, the more I realized other people weren't seeing the same needs that I were, and people started saying, "Hey, you're so creative." And then it struck me that creativity is more than just art for art's sake. It can be born out of necessity, and once I embraced that, it's like this whole other world opened up when I realized I could be intentional about doing this. So creativity, to get to that place where you can be creative in ministry, I think you have to first look at your theology. For me, when I read Genesis, I read about God creating things and people who then are charged with this go and create thing that God gives us. He creates us and says, go out and do more of the same. You get to go and create. So understanding that God created me to go out and do more of that has been hugely influential in my mindset. And then, you read the gospel, it's this beautiful story of God's interaction with us and saving us, and it needs to be told. And it needs to be told in a variety of ways. And unfortunately, I think Western Christianity has pigeonholed it to just a few ways in which we can tell the story. Through the sermon, through the guy with the guitar leading worship, through small groups. And we've said, this is how we do it. And we've kind of put that in a box. But I think that story deserves to be told in a variety of other ways. Not losing any of the elements, but it needs to be expressed. So that's my theology behind being creative in ministry. It's, the door's wide open. Just walk through it and try. I was in youth ministry for 2 years before I came to seminary. Before that, I was in college ministry for a few years. And since I've been in seminary for the past 4 years, I've done this online ministry, which has dealt a lot with youth. And I've done a lot of counseling with youth online. And I've been through seasons of where I've been doing very creative ministry, and I've been through seasons of get it done type ministry. And I've discovered that the difference between, and you all know what get it done ministry is, it's Sunday's coming up, I've got to get it done. And so you grab whatever has worked in the past and you apply it for what you're doing now, and you just kind of stay in that cycle of I've got to get it done. And the difference between that and creative ministry, I think, is time. Time is the greatest enemy of youth pastors. We're very busy people, especially if you're only part-time in your position. Your time is very precious, especially if you have a family or you're in school. So time plays against us. We don't have the time in which to give ourselves to think outside of what do I have to get done for tomorrow. And when you go on a retreat, you come back and you're energized and rejuvenated and you're full of ideas. Well, what happened at the retreat? You gave yourself time in which to think outside of what your typical context is. You've given yourself permission to kind of see what your needs, your contexts are for your youth or for your church or community. And so you come back with a lot of ideas. So, time is such a crucial element to the creative process, is what I have found. So over the past few years of ministry, I want to tell you a little bit about what I've done to kind of give you a context of the things that I have gone out and created, and hopefully that can inspire some of you to build off of those ideas. creativity is a tricky thing. I can tell you a lot about it, but I can't tell you how to be exactly creative in your context, because only you can discover that, because creativity comes out of your personality and the gifts that God has given you. So I hope to give you some ideas in which you can apply for whatever your context is. But I've thought outside the box over the past few years. I didn't realize I was doing that. Like I said, I saw a need and I went for it. Now the risk of thinking outside of the box is that you just create a larger box in which you hold yourself in. But when I was transitioning out of being a youth pastor, I wanted some outlet of ministry while I was in seminary. And I had experimented with doing written devotionals online, and I'd gotten a good deal of a following. So I decided to make that into a website. And so I was writing on the website, and I started doing video. Well, I quickly realized that video, doing Christian videos, talking about topics in the news and these things, like, people were watching this, and people were responding. They were leaving comments. They were making video responses. I'm getting people from all around the world who are watching and leaving comments. And I realized, wow, this is just there's a need for content here. There's a need to express the gospel to these people. And so I've really spent a lot of time immersing myself in the YouTube culture. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, with 72 hours of footage uploaded every minute. People are there, you know. Talk about taking the gospel to where people are at. Well, that's what I tried to do, and I became a YouTuber. I became one of YouTube's partners before anybody could do that, and I was very proud of that. I got to go out to LA and meet with some of the YouTube people and just experience this whole other side of being creative online, and it's really impacted the way I do ministry. But about a year ago, I got approached by the Texas Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church. I'm a United Methodist, and in my denomination we have conferences that span the country, and they saw what I had been doing online, and they said, we want you to do this for us. Figure out a way to do this for us. And so I started looking at the need. I started talking with them. You know, what do you guys need? Where is a gap that I can fill? And we started looking at small churches who didn't have a big budget for curriculum. You know, youth ministry curriculum is terribly expensive. And so much of it you have to retailer for your youth group, because it's just hard to just apply to every group. And so we said, well, what would it look like to do a Bible study for churches, host it online, have people watch it at their homes if they wanted to, and to do it all for free. And so the idea for Preposterous, which is what I currently do, was born. Preposterous is an online interactive video Bible study for youth and young adults, and that's been what I've done for the past 9 months. We do these online video Bible studies. We put them up there. We have churches around the country that are using them. We have people who watch them with their families at home and leave video responses, and so it's. We have definitely thought outside the box, and the temptation is to just get stuck in that. And so we're constantly trying to figure out in what ways can we keep this fresh and new, and not just settle into a model of something that's become stagnant. I would love to answer any questions about what I've done in the past when we get a little further along. But what defines creative? Again, it's different for person to person, but for me, when I'm looking at what is creative in my context, I look at the context. You know, who are the people that I'm trying to do something with? Because what's creative for me, what wows me may be well past what they can even handle. I've discovered that. You know, I've gotten a chance to hang out with a lot of really creative people, so what wows me is outside the realm of people's understanding in certain church contexts. So when you're looking at trying something new and different with your youth ministry, you have to look at your you know, what is your church? What can they handle at the time? You know, if you're in a rural church, you cannot just start this amazing online ministry and expect everybody to jump on board, because they probably will have no idea what you're talking about. So you kind of got to move with where you're at with people. But that looks different for every person. Your creativity is born out of your personality, and God gave you a personality, so use it. So I want to get into some practical ideas. I found over the past few years of doing this that there are some certain practices that you can engage in that help foster your creative juices and allow you to be more intentional about sitting down and being creative. My job requires me to sit down and do a lot of writing. And so a lot of these practices have helped me be able to sit down and just kind of crank out some of these things and come up with new ideas. Kind of coming back around to, I never thought I was one of those people who could sit in a room and just create, but that's kind of where my job has led me. So I want to share with you some of these ideas, and hopefully you can incorporate these into your own, I would almost say spiritual disciplines, because I really think that they help you in all facets of your personal life, but especially in regards to youth ministry, to help you think outside of the box a little bit. And the first is to ask questions. Ask questions about what can be done better, what are the needs of the people you're serving. Ask if people are willing to help. So often, early days in my youth ministry, I didn't think that anybody wanted to help the youth guy on Sunday nights. And when I started asking, people came out of the woodwork. They were willing to help and give their time and their energy. So ask. You never know what's possible until you start asking around. And ask for feedback. I've become relentless about getting feedback and polling and looking at analytics and stats and seeing what's working, what's not working, what can we do better based off of what the numbers are telling us. Sometimes numbers are a good thing. Sometimes those are the things that won't lie to us, and we can address what the problems are a little bit better if we're honest with those things. And when you ask for questions, be okay with not having an answer. I find that some of the most creative people are okay with ambiguity. They're okay with not getting a quick answer. Some of the best ideas that I've had came from me not getting a quick answer, and I just had to keep pushing through it and keep asking more questions and keep digging deeper, and then all of a sudden, you know, God brought me to this place where, oh wow, this is what I've been searching for. This is the idea I've been, you know, dancing around this whole time. And when you ask somebody their opinion, be okay with a different opinion. I find that us in ministry, we're pretty dogmatic about our opinions, and we need to be okay with somebody else having a different opinion. We need pushback. Creativity needs pushback. Welcome it and don't take it personally. The next would be to carve out time to be creative. I'm not a spontaneous person. In fact, I plan my spontaneity. I put it in my calendar. And so early on, this was a really hard thing for me, is how do I give myself time? You know, coming back to the idea of time being a crucial part of hitting that creative level, how do I give myself that time and that permission to just think about these things? You know, if you keep up a calendar, put it on your calendar. Put it down first before it fills up with other, you know, appointments and those things. Give yourself time to just kind of zone the world out and just think and brainstorm. And we'll get to some of those things in just a minute. But one of the practices that I've taken up is every semester I go get a hotel room in town. You know, I find a nice hotel that's pretty cheap. I go get a really nice dinner. And for 24 hours, I just lock myself into the hotel room, and some of the best ideas that I come up with during that period of time, because I'm in prayer. I'm by myself. I can just allow my thoughts and process my thoughts in that place. Take a Sabbath. You would be amazed at what taking a weekly Sabbath will do for your creativity. Because if you're in constant self-preservation, if you're going 7 days a week, you're not giving yourself the ability to to ever think outside of what needs to happen next. What do I have to do for tomorrow? Us in ministry, you know, the more people I talk to in ministry, the more I realize that we all struggle with taking a day off. But we will get so much more done if we take a day off and allow ourselves to rest. And that refreshes our mind in order to think outside of our regular context. The next practice I would highly, highly recommend is to watch, to read, and to listen to creative people. And I would almost dare say that to do so in a secular environment. I can get on my soapbox about Christian entertainment and how they stifle creativity. You know, they stick to what sells and what works, and they don't deviate from that, unfortunately. I've been thoroughly immersed in the YouTube culture over the past few years, and these guys are self-made. They're brilliant. When I've been out in LA, I'm in a room with the most creative people I could ever be in a room with. These guys have all started their own businesses, millions of views, all off their own ingenuity. And I take some of their ideas and what they're doing and apply it and say, how can I do this for God? But if you're taking notes, I would definitely write down some of these names and make it a practice of watching 1 or 2 of these videos a week to give yourself another idea. For me, ideas come from other people's ideas, and to take them and to build off of them. But guys like Zay Frank, who is the creator of the vlog brothers, who are 2 brothers who started doing videos to each other because they didn't live near each other, and they have blown up. But John Green and Hank Green are the 2 brothers, and John Green is now a New York Times best-selling author who wrote The Fault in Our Stars. Hank Green has started a recording company, and they both do you know, science and history shows on YouTube that are widely successful. These are very creative people. Soul Pancake, Dwight from The Office got approached by YouTube to do a channel that talked about faith and spirituality and questions of life, and so he came up with the channel Soul Pancake. And they're also responsible for Kid President, if you saw that video circulating about a month or so ago. Guys like Mystery Guitar Man and Philip DeFranco. Philip DeFranco was the guy who really got me started in doing video. Here's a guy who started doing video off of his webcam in his dorm room 6, 7 years ago, and now he runs a large production company out in LA, employing like 20 people and making 6 digits a year, 6 figures a year. You know, these guys are the top of their game. So watch people who are doing creative things and allow them to give you ideas and to feed off those ideas. I mean, literally, the whole idea for me to do online video came from watching these people. And listen to music and read stuff that inspires you. Because a good idea will morph, and if you allow it, if you give yourself time to think about it, and you'll be surprised at what kind of application you can get for youth ministry or any ministry if you just allow yourself to read creative things. The next idea is to brainstorm. A friend of mine taught me to, when you get into a place of brainstorming, to just take a sheet of paper or you know, a whiteboard and just write. And get a couple of people. If it's your youth, get a youth counselor, get other adults. Just write. Don't critique ideas. Don't think about the practicality of anything. Just jot down whatever comes to your mind, and then come back later and dissect. All right, we can do this next week. This is something we'll need to shoot for 6 months down the road. This is just an idiotic idea. Who put this up here? You know, just put it all up there and get your thoughts out of your head onto something, and sort through it that way. You'd be surprised at how one person's idea will build off of another's, and you will get so far in a 10-15 minute period of time if you just allow yourself to practice the idea of brainstorming. Try something, and if it fails, try again. Don't take it personally. Be okay with failure. And lastly, and though it's last, it really needs to be first in everything that we do, and that's just to pray. And sometimes it doesn't take an elaborate prayer. I find that God help me is oftentimes the most effective thing that I can say when I'm just sitting down and have to do something. So these are disciplines that I've incorporated into my life that have allowed me to think outside the box, to try to meet the needs that I see, because I'm asking the questions. I'm giving myself time to think these things through. I'm being fed creative ideas from lots of different places, and you know, I invite pushback on my ideas. But I want to give you some ideas to get you started. Again, I'm a very practical person. If you take the Myers-Briggs, I am a J. I've surrounded myself with a lot of P's who think very spatially, and I think very detailed, and they've influenced me and I've influenced them. But some ideas to kind of get you started, your creativity flowing in youth ministry. First thing is to make videos. Document everything. You know, if you take your kids out to a youth event or a conference or whatever, you know, at one point you're going to be standing in line to get food. Take out your iPhone or whatever you have, and walk down the line and ask them all a question. You know, what is God doing in your life this weekend? What's been your favorite moment? Video it. Have documentation, because it's so much easier to have all of that when you're in the moment, instead of a week later trying to parade your kids up on stage and get them to give a testimony in front of the whole church about what happened. You can just throw the video. You can show them in that moment how these kids were feeling, and then that's something that you can remind them later on when they get discouraged. Hey, this is where you were then. Remember this time. I'm a fervent believer in videoing everything. Next, make funny videos. Have your kids, if you're going through Old Testament or whatever, you know, give them a set of verses and a camera and say, hey, go make a skit out of this. You know, not only are you challenging them to get into a set of verses and discover the meaning for themselves, but you're unleashing for them creativity, and you're discipling them in a way that they don't even realize it. But when they're done making this video, after they've processed what this story means and they've acted it out, edited it, or whatever they do to it, they're going to share it with their friends on social media. Hey, look at the funny thing that we just made. So not only are they learning in the process, but they're showing their friends, hey, this is what we're doing at youth group. I mean, what better way to promote your youth ministry, but to really make disciples? I believe that one of the best investments you can make as a youth pastor, especially if you have a tight budget, buy a couple of cheap video cameras. And, you know, something that you won't miss if the kids don't bring it back or it gets broke, but to have that available for them to tap into their creative side. Make testimony videos. You come back from a retreat, kid gets saved, film it. Have them tell their story. Stories are the most powerful things that we have. So have it available. Obviously, you need to ask permission from their parents before you post it online, but film everything. And then make videos of you. The summer's coming up. Kids are not going to be regular at youth groups. What would it look like for you to do encouraging videos on your own? Something funny or serious, short, long, whatever. What would it look like if you know your kids are not going to be there, for you to still be connecting with them in a visual way? Write. Your youth may not read much of what you write, but their parents will. You know, what kind of a ministry could you have for their parents if you were blogging or putting up notes on Facebook or something short and encouraging? As a youth pastor, as a youth minister, you have ideas. That's why you are in that position. God has given you a word for people. Put it down. Get it out there. Allow people to see it. And just be creative. You don't have to be the most technologically savvy person. You know, that's my approach, because that's, you know, just really the world that I've lived in is a technological world over the past few years. But, you know, I didn't know any of this stuff before I started. I didn't know how to video edit. I didn't know how to work a camera. I didn't know how to do any of this before. I just did it because I saw a need. But turn some things over to your youth. These kids are brilliant. They understand these social media and technology much better than most of us do. Tap into their potential. Unleash them to go out and be creative for their context. Some other quick ideas that I came across, some of which I have been successful in doing and others that I wish I could try. Instagram competition. You know, if you're talking about forgiveness on a weekend, tell your kids, Instagram a picture that embodies forgiveness and you'll win a prize. You know, pick the winner, but allow them to have expressive forms of what they think something is. Have them go do street interviews. Remember those cameras that you bought for your youth ministry? Have them go do street interviews of people, asking them some simple questions, just having those people tell their story to these teenagers and see what happens. Have them tweet their questions during the youth service. That engages them to do something other than text their friends because they're already on their phones. Challenge them to vlog their life for a week. I did that for a month. I did a social experiment where I took the book of Proverbs, which are 31 Proverbs, and I did it through the month of July, which is 31 days, and I took a chapter each day, and I literally filmed my life all day, every day, as I took one chapter and I filmed how it applied to my life as I went throughout the day. Encourage them to do that. Tell their stories in video or other means of social media. Things that they get out there and tell their stories in a way that's not as intimidating as going up and you know, getting up in front of a group of people and giving their testimony. Sometimes safety behind a screen is a good thing, and it gets people prepared to meet people in real life. You know, this is not a tech thing, but get everybody in the church van and drive through your neighborhood and allow kids to go door to door asking for canned goods. It helps them do local missions in a very quick and easy way. There's low overhead, there's low maintenance to be able to just get a bunch of kids in a van and drive through a neighborhood. I got to do that as I was transitioning out. The kids just loved it. They saw the practical application of getting food for the food pantry in the area. Make a list of items that the local women's shelter needs and split the kids up into a group at Walmart and give each group $20 and see who can come out closest to $20 even. You know, just simple things, scavenger hunts, competitions that give them some incentive, but you're discipling them in ways that they're not even privy to, and they're able to share it with their friends because kids love to share their experiences through social media. Lastly, you know, ideas build off of other ideas. I can't tell you exactly for your context how to be creative, but hopefully some of the ideas that I've given you here can spark something in you and in your context to be able to just think outside of the box of your ministry and hopefully get out of the get it done frame of ministry that so many of us slip into, and it's natural and it's not bad, but if you're wanting to be creative, it takes time. It takes some of these practices. And again, I didn't know any of this stuff before. I just went out there and tried it. And that's it.
That's great.
Right on. That's some great stuff. A lot of creativity is necessary, I think, to survive in youth ministry, because if we're always just doing kind of the same thing every week, you're going to lose them. I worked for Young Life for a while, and they talked about the more routine that the less kids are going to be engaged, and the more creative your club or your youth group is, that the more they will be engaged. So I appreciate your insight in that. One of my personal heroes is Walt Disney, who is he's the king of creativity. And so, you know, just as I hear you talking, it's very reminiscent of what he talked to the Imagineers about, is just brainstorm, just get out and do it, be creative, don't, you know, walk around, just be engaged. So I really appreciate your wisdom and your insight, and thanks for sharing that with us. And Nate, have we gotten any sort of questions out from Twitter, Twitterverse?
Yeah, I just want to say, David, I was like trying to get down all your ideas. Maybe you can, if you have them written down, maybe you can send me a copy so I can blog them all later, or if you'll let us steal that, maybe you can just blog about it and we'll link to it. But a ton of great ideas. And it's such a good point too. Just what you said about when I was leading a group. I'm not leading a youth group right now, but when I was last year, that's really interesting because we didn't video stuff, but that would have been so easy. I'm just picturing like our last trip to Dare to Share. Like I had my iPhone the whole weekend, and I could have really easily taken a bunch of cool videos just by pulling it out and asking the questions. So that's real simple and super practical. So
yeah, you'd be surprised that so many of these things, it's so easy to do once you realize that it's there and available to do. Because everybody in youth ministry has an iPhone basically at this point. So it's not that hard to whip it out and to turn it on and let it go and see what happens.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I think it's kind of getting over that, almost the fear of what you don't know. Like I don't know how to do YouTube, or I don't know how to, maybe it's going to be a lot of work to set up the thing to share it. Like that. Or I'm already too busy or whatever. Kind of breaking through that. If you don't break through that and give it a try, you never know what could come of some real simple creative steps. So
I'll that get it done mentality. Got to get it done for tomorrow. Got to get it done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Jalen asked, what are some examples of things you have? Okay. Maybe you can help me understand the question. What are some examples of things you've wanted or accepted help on? Jalen, you're on Facebook right now. What do you mean by that question? Now, here's another one she asked. This is great. Aside from the Bible, what is the most inspirational book you've ever read?
Oh, it depends on what frame of reference you're talking about. I just spent time reading a bunch of C.S. Lewis recently. He's a brilliant Christian author. Mere Christianity was amazing. The Great Divorce was brilliant. But as far as like secular type things or even nonfiction stuff, The Fault in Our Stars, honestly, it came out last year. It's a fiction book. It was in the teen fiction section, yet it hit, and it was in everybody's top 10 list for last year of books written by John Green. It was brilliant. I read a book called The Undertaking just a couple weeks ago. It was a funeral director giving his thoughts on death. It was brilliant. It caught me off guard. It was very well written, and it was just amazing. I love Drops Like Stars by Rob Bell. I've read it numerous times now. It's very short. You can read it in about an hour. And it's mainly about the prodigal son, and I find inspiration from that every time I read it. So it just really depends on what frame of reference. But I draw creativity from a lot of different places because I'm looking for it. Because once you realize that you can be creative, you start looking for it in other places and in other people, and you can pull it out of other people when you're looking for it, and you can get it from things that you read and listen to and watch on TV or movies or. It's all around us if you're looking for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. Good books there. I'm gonna have to check out a few of those. Jalen, thanks. She clarified there. Her first question was about when you mentioned getting help from others, and that now that you're asking for help, there's a lot of people helping you. And again, I couldn't agree more, man. That's such a good point. Another thing to get over, just asking for help, and again, you don't know until people help, or until you ask.
When I first started youth ministry, I was 21, and I hadn't a clue what I was doing, and it was a church that was still reeling from Hurricane Katrina. There was no youth ministry there, so it was building from scratch, and it was just me for like the first 6 months, maybe. I was the only adult there. I mean, it was all kinds of, you know, nobody told me about Safe Sanctuary because I was new and, you know, church reeling from all these things. So I didn't know I needed to have another person there, but I didn't think anybody else wanted to show up, so I didn't ask. But once I started asking and realizing I needed help, people just came out of the woodwork to volunteer to give food. Somebody took over for me even scheduling people to bring food every weekend. And but more recently, you know, doing Preposterous, we use a lot of graphics. And I asked. I am not a graphics person. I can do some of it. I had to learn how to do it, but I don't do motion graphics. I don't do any of that. And somebody volunteers every week for me. His name is Luke, and he is a brilliant person, and he does. He's pioneering some amazing stuff in youth ministry, but he just does it for volunteer-wise. I have another ministry who's translating all of our videos into Spanish. You know, it's amazing what people will do when you ask them and when they believe in what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Here's another question for you, and this is mine actually, because I love everything you're sharing about brainstorming, just getting out there and get some ideas. What happens when you have a million ideas? Like, how do you prioritize? You mentioned before, just at first get them all on paper, and then you kind of mentioned, okay, we'll do this one next week, we'll do this one tomorrow. This one's a bad idea. How do you go through that and really decide what a good idea is and what isn't?
I would say bring some other people into the room at that point. Even in the putting all your ideas down, have some other people there who can help you think practically. And part of it is knowing your own personality. I helped found seedbed.com, which is an online resourcing network for pastors, and as we were getting that launched, I was working for a guy who on the Myers-Briggs was the epitome of a P. Like, he was this very spatial thinker. Everything was at 10,000 feet. He never wanted to get down to the practical level. Well, I was the person in the room that was going, how are we going to do this? How are we going to get it done tomorrow? Do we have the manpower to do that? So knowing what your personality type is and having people who that are opposite from you. You know, God doesn't give each person all the gifts in the world. So find people who have those gifts and partner with them and ask them questions and allow them to give you feedback. But another way is to break it down. What is something we can do tomorrow? What is something that we need to work on for the next 6 months? What is an idea that's just impractical for where we are at in the ministry and in our context? So.
That's great. It's good stuff. I think I had one more question here that stuck out here. That blog, when you did your Proverbs blog for the month, is that something that's still available?
It is. I started. My main channel is the Pursuit blog, and I started it on there, and then I realized that I needed to have a separate channel for the daily stuff. So if you search YouTube for My Pursuit blog, one word, it'll pull up the vast majority of those videos. Okay, great. And if there's any of those links you want to send me, I'll be posting this on the Call to Youth Ministry blog with a little summary, so we can include all those links in there as well. Okay, great.
Cool. Well, good. Well, David, thank you. Appreciate you sharing with us tonight, and thanks to everyone that's here watching from all over the country and probably all over the world. I appreciate you being here and giving some time for this, and for sharing with youth ministers especially. And again, a reminder, your main website, which is Preposterous. What's that URL? Preposterousproject.org. .com works too, but preposterousproject.org. And you post there about once a week or so, those Bible studies?
We have a weekly study that's walking through the book of Matthew, and right now we're in the middle of our Holy Week series. And then we have a monthly series on discipleship that is it's much more, I don't know, the Numa videos, you familiar with those? Mm-hmm. They're much more in that vein, but the weekly show is much more like a web show. Mm-hmm. That is a Bible study. So
Cool. Great. Really good. Well, so
And
yeah,
all that's available free.
Great. Great. And just another reminder, actually, a quick update for everyone watching here. If you're following Called Youth Ministry, I want to share with you guys something exciting that's going on, especially if you're in Wisconsin, but anywhere in the country. We're going to transition to that right now. But I wanted to give a quick shout out to Paul Jolliker. He was here last month. A friend of mine going back from years ago when I was living in Texas. And while you're talking, I'm sitting here looking at Facebook for comments and stuff, and I saw he had his baby about 3 hours ago. So I commented, so I guess you won't be at Youth Pastor Church, and he liked my comment, so that made me feel good. And TC Johnson too just commented on Twitter, just echoing what I'd said earlier. So those great startup just ideas to get going, ideas to do it tomorrow. So some good interaction, good feedback there. Thanks, guys. So what we're doing next, or what Called Youth Ministry is doing next, this week and next week, we're getting some groups started that meet like this every week, but in a small group kind of network setting. So it's led by a facilitator. These groups are just youth ministry focused. We talk through leadership. We talk through how to actually, one of the courses, Creating a Movement of Student Discipleship, creates a framework. Like, how do I go out and talk to all these people about youth ministry and invite them into the leadership team, the volunteer team? And it really gives kind of a step-by-step process that you walk through with other youth pastors as you go through the course. And so they meet online like this once a week. It's very easy to get into because you're just sitting down on your computer, clicking a few links, and there you are chatting with others. So just if you're interested, check it out on the website, calledyouthministry.com. We'd love to have you. It's available for free. There's a registration fee, but if you don't have it, there's an option just to get on there under the scholarship. So come on and join us. We'd love to have you. But what's going on in Wisconsin here, and Jason, I hope you don't mind me sharing a little bit. Jason here is he's the director or the regional coordinator for the North Central region for the National Network of Youth Ministries. And Jason and I have been talking back and forth for a while, and I called him enough times that he finally accepted my phone call, and we've become friends since then. And he's a few hours north of me.
I can't wait to hear your sweet voice, Nate.
Yeah, good. I made him say that. But we're here. We're actually both in Wisconsin, and Jason's been doing a group in the Grand Rapids area. I'm sorry, Green Bay. Green Bay area. In Plymouth, Wisconsin, and he started the Wisconsin Youth Ministry Tribe, which we're really excited about because it's a Facebook group. It's a closed Facebook group, which you can go ahead and look it up on Facebook, Wisconsin Youth Ministry Tribe, and just click apply, and we'll let you in real easy. Don't worry.
Absolutely.
And
I'm not that picky.
Yeah. And the idea of that group is to be a regional group that if you're in youth ministry in Wisconsin, you can connect with others. And we're going to start similar hangouts once a month or on some sort of schedule to do just like this. Again, just to connect, share, not really to present like we did today, but just to give everyone in Wisconsin a chance to talk and share and pray together. And also to help you connect with a local group. You might not know there could be a network just down the road or in the next town. Jason and the National Network, that's what they do. They network. They're networking fanatics. I don't know how they do it, but that's all they do. Yeah. So, and they'll connect you with that local network, or just be a part of the online network is a great opportunity, an easy way just to get on and get community. So we're really excited about Wisconsin, and we're even more excited to talk about how do we do that in more states. And so check out the Wisconsin group if you're in that area. If you're not in that area, email me, email Jason. My email is nate@calledtoyouthministry.com, or just go on the website and contact us through there. And we want to hear from you. If you're interested in joining a network in a different state or different region, we'd love to help get that started. And we're really talking and praying about what would it look like if, be it a few years down the road, there are regional groups all across the country that met online. We call them gateway groups because the idea is not just to create an online group, but if it's if we're meeting like this, but we're all in Wisconsin, we start getting more people in the group, we can start to get involved in local networks. So the idea is we can meet online right now, network now, and hopefully start to form or connect with those local networks that are happening And so you're starting to meet and even coordinate, work together with youth pastors in your same town. So it's a lot of work to start a network. Jason knows it. I tried to start a network when I was down in Illinois. Found every youth pastor in town. Finally got them together in the same room and tried to get, just do coffee. And there's one guy that was paid. 10% of his job was youth ministry. And a year later, none of them were in youth ministry anymore. Really, I mean, that's just a sad factoid on the state of youth ministry. None of them were in youth ministry a year later. So it can be tough being in it and staying in it, not to mention tough just finding people to share and pray with. So the online training groups, we hope are a way for you to do that. And we'd love to do more of this local type group as well, and we're really praying about that as we move into the future. And yeah, we're doing this again next month. Not sure on the exact date yet, but watch your email, watch the blog, watch Facebook. We'll get some things posted. It'll be live from Indianapolis. There's a network that meets in Indianapolis, led by a guy named Mike Woods, who's a pastor and a youth pastor, church planner down there. Really wild guy. I won't tell you stories. He's ridiculous. But he'll be hosting it. So I'll probably be here. He'll be there in Indy, and he'll be in a room with 20 to 30 youth pastors. Who knows? And we'll be hearing from him and talking together. So it should be a fun time next month. So keep a lookout for that. Jason, did I miss anything about the tribe and the national network?
No, I think you nailed it. The main thing is we want to work to get folks from screen to screen to face to face. Really helping because a lot of what we talked about here, the creativity part, it's all about talking, hanging out with other creatives. Well, what better way to do that than to join a network of other creative youth workers, right there in your hometown. And even if they're not full-time, there's volunteers. And I think you really hit on something there about how youth workers are so afraid to ask questions. And what better way than to find other people who love God and love students and just brainstorm and creatively think. So yeah, you hit it, Nathan, and I think I would love to hear from anybody if you're from the North Central region, which covers Wisconsin, Minnesota, North and South Dakota, Nebraska, and Iowa. If you're out there and you're listening to this and want to get together with other creatives, I'd love to set you up. So
basically, if you look out your window and you see snow most of the year, you're probably in the North Central region. So
exactly. Except Alaska, but I got a friend who could help you in Alaska too.
Yeah. And Jason, what's your email address?
My address is jkaat. That's jcott at nnym.org.
Great. Yeah, and that's a great website. Wherever you are, check out nnym.org. It's the national network site.
It would be youthworkers.net is where you go to get online and find where your networks are.
Okay, great. Youthworkers.net. Thanks. Youthworkers.net. Yeah, they've got networks everywhere that they can get plugged into, so thanks guys. Thanks David for being with us. Thanks Jason
for having me.
For hosting. If you haven't noticed, Jason's actually in his daughter's bedroom right now. He had to find a quiet place. We were messing with him earlier. I think those posters, I think his daughter is a true youth ministry, a daughter of a youth pastor, because she just has national network posters, just pictures of like mini shrines to like the great youth pastors in her room. That's just that's what she is. Is that right, Jason?
It's absolutely. She's got an icon of Mike Yaconelli over there, and Doug Fields and Chap Clark. So
that's right. You're raising right.
I tell her to run far and fast from that kind of stuff.
Cool, guys. Well, thanks very much, and we'll look forward to seeing everyone next time.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.